Future Grand Prix, the pursuit of possible. This is what McLaren is coming up with as a concept for the year 2050 for the Formula One Championship, which by 2050 will be celebrating its 100th year since starting in 1950. So as a celebration to that, they've done a concept car for the future. We've had so many concept cars in the past, especially in the last 5-6 years, really. We've had these bonkers kind of spaceship-looking concept cars from Red Bull to Ferrari, be it, in the GT games, or just Ferrari making a mock-up of what a crazy F1 car could look like. And now McLaren have done their own stuff in the past before, but they've really seemed to have taken a lot of detail in this. It's not actually McLaren, the F1 team, I should add. It's McLaren Applied Technology. So before anyone makes a joke about have McLaren F1 been spending all their time doing this, then making their 2019 car, it was there, but no, it's actually their other division, their Applied Technologies division. I don't actually know what Applied Technologies division does as a whole. I guess they do a lot of different things for a lot of different parts of McLaren, be it the automotive side or the Formula One side. But right now, today, they've unveiled some bonkers project, with a pretty cool video as well, and some awesome pictures of what they think an F1 2050 car could look like in their kind of world and thoughts. Apparently, they've also taken the ideas from comprehensive fan research, apparently, and also they've kind of deep dived into what their engineers and staff are also thinking of where the sport and the technology rather is going. Less so where the sport's going, more so where the technology could go. And so they've kind of envisioned a kind of crazy, bonkers, very Tron-like F1 incarnation in 2050. I thought it'd be an interesting discussion video because like I said, we've had F1 concepts in the past, so I thought we'd talk about this, get to know your thoughts in the comments below, guys. So do let me know what you're thinking straight off the bat, and then also once we kind of deep dive into some of these more intricate ideas from McLaren, because they do try and explain their thought process behind the concept. But let's get into it then. So the kind of bullet points they've been saying are 500 km/h inductively charged electric racing machines. So I'm guessing they're thinking probably by 2050 maybe a combustible engine will be obsolete, and they're going to be going for supercharged electric motors. I don't know about that, but that's what they're thinking. Onboard advanced AI cockpit, so less reliant on a actual person on the engineering pit wall rather than AI in the cockpit. That's just, basically, AI learning. It's learnt stuff on the fly, and it can kind of give the driver some aids in that kind of sense of what strategy they should be on. I like this part. Shape-shifting active aerodynamics, which is pretty damn nuts. I mean, shape-shifting alone makes it seem like some sort of like X-Men kind of mystique sort of thing, where the aero just changes shape and completely changes to a different type of, concept that they need it for it being a corner or a straight or whatnot. Thrilling circuits, fierce banking, apparently. Strategy support via eSports pathfinders, which is a very weird and interesting idea. And then inspired by comprehensive fan research, they're saying. So I don't know necessarily the percentage of fans that have said stuff like this. I suspect there are going to be a lot of traditionalists in the comments below that are thinking, what on earth is that ugly piece of crap that I'm seeing on my screen? I personally, for one, I think it's pretty damn sick. It looks awesome. It's like a wallpaper kind of thing. I don't know how practical and how cool it would be in reality in terms of the actual racing, but as a wallpaper sort of thing, that classic Richard Hammond, Jeremy Clarkson kind of saying on like the old Top Gear of, a Lamborghini they used to have on their walls of a bedroom. This is definitely a wallpaper on a bedroom kind of car, but I don't know how practical it would be. But let's deep dive then into what they're thinking about it. They're calling it the MCLE, for short, which is the MCL Extreme, because they need to be extreme. They need to really get that across. But, yeah, a fast, predatory and instinctive like machine, apparently. So let's kind of go through the kind of different things. So shape-shifting aerodynamics. So apart from DRS, obviously, they're saying that this car will literally shape-shift. The side pods would, in theory, basically contract and expand as needed. So in a corner, the side pods would expand, and so they kind of get bigger, obviously taking more air in and channeling more air to the back of the car or wherever it needed to be for the motor or whatnot, or basically just making it a bit bit more of a draggy car, and so it basically kind of can stop better in the corners. But then on the straights, the side pod will come inwards, basically, so you have very active air of not just the front wing or the rear wing, the actual entire body of the car, the side pods come in and sucker in, and that makes it a more slipstreamed machine, which makes sense. Obviously, that's how you get kind of around dirty air, I guess, in a straight line, and kind of help overtaking in a way. But they're thinking that, you know, the aero for every car will basically be changing every single minute. So, in a sense, the race kind of goes on with the drivers doing their driving, but the car is also adapting to every situation possible. I feel like that would be kind of bonkers. Obviously, it's all concepts, so take it with a pinch of salt, but I'm thinking more of reality check of like, I surely if every car had that, it would just be the same kind of effect we have right now, almost, apart from in a different way, because surely every car would be so equal on every straight and corner with that active. I guess every team would have a better technology than others. Like the top teams would have a better system than the lower teams at that kind of system. But unlocking the power of artificial intelligence. So I thought this is quite interesting actually, because right now AI are breaking through. They're kind of almost not emerging because they're kind of already here, but AI are kind of, getting faster and faster every day in terms of the AI learning and how autonomous they are. I mean, our lives in general becoming even more autonomous. I mean, in the next couple of years, our lives will be changing quite drastically in terms of how everything gets done. So many jobs now every single year are being taken over by AI and computers. But so they're saying that the AI will be the one that maybe does the simulation of the data and all the kind of car stuff. And so no longer will you have to have maybe engineers on the pit wall doing race strategies. It'll be an AI that can actually be in the cockpit with you, almost like Iron Man and the Friday AI in Iron Man's suit, where you've got that kind of AI who speaks like a woman, talks to Tony Stark in the helmet about certain things and strategies to take on enemies. Basically in F1 they're saying like there'll be an AI cockpit in the car, and basically the AI will talk to the driver, I guess, instead of the engineer. It all sounds very Hollywood, but I think that'd be pretty sweet as well. And they've got these really weird renders of pit crew with these cyborg looking helmets, which I just think looks more comical than anything, because it's so funny to think that could be a pit stop person with like a cyborg eye that has like pinpoint accuracy for the pit stop or whatnot. And even let alone that, the pit stop itself, I mean, looking back at the tires, I don't even know if these tires are going to be able to take off in a race situation. They look pretty locked in, and they've got these very weird Tron-like stripes down the middle there. So going back to groove tires then, apparently, to slow down the cars, I guess, or maybe that's a way they can grip onto the road and get electricity. I don't know, but it's all rather bonkers. McLaren apparently are going balls deep in the electric kind of way. They're saying, speaking to our F1 fan research groups, they understood the reality that governments around the world are driving for widespread adoption of zero-emission vehicles. In the UK, for example, there are plans to ensure all new cars will be effectively zero-emission by 2040. Therefore, we believe it's fair to say that by 2050, Grand Prix racing will be all electric, which is fair enough. I think the world is going that kind of way. In an ideal world, obviously that wouldn't be the case, because, I for one, even though I'm fine with V6 engines and even going to, in the future, even less noisy engines, maybe a bit more efficient, I still do miss the sound when you hear and when you see a clip of an old F1 season. You do kind of miss the sound in a way, but at the same time, you kind of get used to it. But I know there's going to be so many purists out there that just don't want to shift anyway, but it's probably going that way. So they're going for even more powerful electric vehicles, which are, like they said, 500 kilometer per hour beasts of machines. Charging technology, they're saying, might even replace DRS replacement. So basically within a window, cars can get energy. It's almost Formula E's current attack mode kind of thing, where a car can take a certain line to get an extra boost. It might be a case of in a phase of a Grand Prix, you are taking extra energy on from the I guess maybe that's why they have those grooves in the tires. Maybe that's a way they can get electricity from the electric track, basically, and basically draw power from that in a certain phase, and then use that as a kind of DRS replacement in a way. And they've actually mentioned it at Formula E. They've kind of said, almost based our research on, the Formula E powertrains, the way they work in Season 5 currently. We move on to the bodywork, wheels and cockpit. Now, this is only the kind of slight part where I have a kind of issue with the way it looks, because from certain angles, the car does kind of look like almost like a buggy in a way. From other angles, it looks insane, like I said, like a Tron car, or just, very much almost like the concepts we've seen before from Ferrari and Red Bull. But from this particular angle I've got on screen right now, it does look very much like a buggy, because it's so simplistic in terms of the wings. Obviously, I know the idea would be it'd be all active aero, so it would change actively, and that's where you get the grip and stuff like that, and also from those huge tires, but it just looks a bit odd from that angle. But apart from that, they've just, talked about obviously having the cockpit transparent, so it shows the driver obviously gripping the wheel and their kind of footwork and whatnot, and then the actual bodywork itself, obviously talking about the active aero, that's basically the whole point. Obviously, it can be simplistic because on the move, this bodywork will change basically as it needs to. And then they also mentioned circuits as well. So the guys at McLaren Applied Technologies also talked about circuit design, and they have this really weird concept. And this definitely looks like some sort of, every time they do it in the movies, what the future's going to look like. Some kind of like random metropolis, like that's part jungle, part crazy, futuristic flying car sort of kind of circuit. But obviously this is on the road. But this is what they're talking about, fierce banking. They've got that massive hill that comes in, then it banks and comes back, and then they've got drones flying about that give, I guess, the aerial shots and stuff like that. Obviously, a lot of this is kind of also toe-in-toe with all their new sponsors like the HTC Vive and whatnot, trying to get that technology across. Also, OnePlus, the mobile phone manufacturer, as well. So I'm guessing a lot of this will be sponsored kind of stuff as well in terms of the way they've kind of just made the concept up and painted it. But reinventing the Grand Prix experience, apparently. Fans want to be immersed in the action, so that's why we imagine sections of the track will be glass-walled or even glass-roofed to allow spectators to stand atop of the track. That would be really scary. For me personally, I don't like heights or the sense of I could die basically falling somewhere. So if I was on top of a glass roof and you saw the cars come in, it'd be insane. But at the same time, I feel like I would need to hold on to railing of like, oh god, I'm going to fall in, aren't I? And then blackout zones, apparently. Since the days of gentlemen drivers and ride-along mechanics, sporting rules have demanded the driver drive alone and unaided. So in 2050, sometimes alone and unaided will mean precisely that. There'll be periods in the race where the driver loses AI support and comms, apparently. It's a feature, not a glitch. That's a bit of a gimmick. That doesn't sound, if this was to be implemented, that sounds very gimmicky, but also kind of terrifying in a way, and kind of cool. Gladiators of the Future, they mentioned their article again with the kind of pit stop crew. They talked about eSports integration with Pathfinders, so what they're meaning is they're trying to kind of plug and PR the hell out of their McLaren Shadow project, which basically they're talking about, essentially, whilst the real drivers of, like, no, well, it won't be Norris and Sainz in 2050, but the F1 drivers driving around will basically be aided by the equivalent of their eSports roster of the team doing their own simulation of the race in real time, and then they can feed back information to the real drivers about optimizing strategy. So the eSports drivers are doing simulation driving of the race the real drivers are doing, and then the eSports drivers can kind of be like, okay, we've done the simulation here, if you want to pit now or do this strategy now. All very, very bonkers, all completely just obviously fake and imaginative, just to kind of whet the appetite of, what could be in the future. But I just think a very fun little video to do, basically, guys, to get your thoughts and basically, just think about it a little bit. It's pretty crazy to think this might be F1 2050, or probably not. Definitely not, probably. But anyway, guys, if you did enjoy the video, hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. I'll link to the article below if you want to read it in full there of McLaren Applied Technologies. Very cool article. And if you are on your end here, to subscribe for weekly F1 content. I've been aarava. Hope you enjoyed today. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.